Yo, what's going on guys? Welcome to my Shadow Priest PvP guide for BFA. In today's video, we're mainly talking about talents. It's not like a full PvP guide. I'm going to do this in parts. But for now, I wanted to go over talents for the start of BFA Season 1 PvP. And these are the talents that I've been playing with. I've been experimenting with talents, but these are the talents that I found are the best for PvP. And one of the main reasons that has got me doing this video is because when I do battlegrounds and arenas and stuff, when I'm inspecting Shadow Priests, whenever I see them playing with talents like Fortress of Mind or Auspicious Spirits or Dark Void or Shadow Crash or Void Torrent or Legacy of the Void. And these are talents that make Shadow Priest extremely hard to play because you don't get your instant casts from Shadow Insight and you don't do as much damage as other Shadow Priests. So when people are coming on my channel and saying, oh, Shadow Priest doesn't do any damage, Shadow Priest doesn't do this much damage, it's really hard to do damage against melee in arena, have you got any tips? This is why I'm making this video today. So if you're struggling against melee in arena and you're struggling to do damage overall, make sure to watch this video and we're going to go through each talent and I'm going to be explaining why this talent's better than that talent and why I'm taking this talent. Okay, so let's get on with the first row, the tier 15 row. We have Fortress of Mind, Shadow Insight and Shadow Word Void. Now this is going to be a long one, so get ready. I see a lot of Shadow Priests taking Fortress of Mind and Shadow Word Void. Now I'm pretty sure there is a Google page for Shadow Priest DPS, what talents to take or something. It's like a Wowhead, but it's not Wowhead, it's a different website. And I'm pretty sure it tells Shadow Priest to take Shadow Word Void, and I think this is for PvE. Now I think this is why a lot of Shadow Priests are playing with Shadow Word Void. I could be wrong, but I think this is why. Now the reason I don't like playing with Shadow Word Void is it replaces Mind Blast, and your Mind Blast does 6.6k damage on my screen. That's what it says on the tooltip. Shadow Word Void does 7k damage, so it's only doing a little bit extra damage. Shadow Word Void, it's got 2 charges, so I mean you get to use it twice, but it's a cast, okay? It's a cast. So when you're in arenas, you don't really have time to be casting this. You have to be getting your dots out. You've got to be shielding up. You've got to be helping your team. You've got to be doing a bunch of stuff. And it's going to get really clunky if you've got to cast Shadow Word Void constantly. You know, when you want to do damage, you're going to have to Shadow Word Void cast. And most likely, you're going to have a melee on you. And when you've got melee on you, you're going to be getting interrupted, stunned, reflected. It's going to make it really hard to do damage in arenas and battlegrounds. So Shadow Word Void's just straight out the window. And I'll also point out that I have done testing with Shadow Word Void versus Shadow Insight versus Fortress of Mind. And when I've been testing it on training dummies, they all pretty much do the same amount of damage on a training dummy. I have found that Shadow Insight does a tiny bit more damage, but overall they're all about the same amount of damage. But obviously in PvP it's totally different because you've got CC, kicks, reflex, stuns, charges. You've got so much stuff to be thinking about. Fortress of Mind. So a lot of people take Fortress of Mind. Don't know why they take this, but a lot of people do. Basically what it does, Mind Flare and Mind Blast deal 10% more damage and it generates 20% more insanity. Although you're generating more insanity, it's one of those you've got to cast Mind Blast, you've got to cast Mind Flare. They only do 10% more damage. It's not that much, especially for a spell like Mind Blast where it doesn't really do that much. It does damage, but it's not like massive damage, so the 10% is not really that big of a deal. And especially in arena when you're trying to burst someone down, it's same with Shadow Word Void. When you're trying to burst someone down in arena or you've got melee training you and you need to get your damage out, you can't really be stood there casting Mind Flares or Mind Blasts. You really need to be doing your full instant cast rotation, which is basically you've got your dots out, you've got your Mind Bender out, you've got your Siphene out, you've got Void Eruption up, you're Void Bolting, and you're using your instant casts from Shadow Insight. So the reason I think Shadow Insight's the best talent to take here. Number one, it's really easy to get your Mind Blast procs. Basically all you've got to do is get Shadow Word Pain on every target you see, which is pretty much what you're doing in arena anyway. You get your Shadow Word Pain on pretty much your 2 targets, maybe your 3 targets, depends what you're trying to do in that team that you're playing with. Are you trying to rot all 3 of them down? Are you just trying to kill 2 of them? Are you trying to keep pressure on 2 of them? Are you just trying to kill 1 guy? Like, what are you trying to do? But most of the time in an arena, you can keep your Shadow Word Pain on 1 to 3 targets pretty much all the time. It's not that hard. You know, you just press Shadow Word Pain, it's 1 global, it's an instant cast. And what this does is, the more Shadow Word Pains you've got, the more chance you have of getting an instant Mind Blast proc. Now, the cool thing that I like to do with this instant Mind Blast proc is, if I try cast a Mind Blast, I try get a full cast Mind Blast off, and then once I Mind Blast, most likely I'm going to have an instant cast Mind Blast waiting for me because it procs often. So I'll do a Mind Blast into an instant Mind Blast into like a Void Eruption, and then I'll probably have another Mind Blast because it really does proc often. And the good thing about this talent, like I said earlier, you're not having to cast. So when you've got those 2 melee on you and you're trying to burst them down, it's your burst opportunity. You've just got a Poly on the healer, you've just got a Hodge on the healer, whatever CC you've got, and you're trying to burst these guys down, but they both have their kicks, and you know if you you have to cast Mind Blast and you get interrupted, it's basically you're not going to get the kill, you're not going to have any pressure, it's going to be extremely hard to win the game. You're going to have to wait until the next go, and it's going to just delay things and you might end up dying. So what I like about Shadow Insight is you can just basically use your powered shields, run away while you're trying to kill them. You've got Void Eruption up, you're doing your instant Void Bolts, you've got your Mind Bender, you've got your Siphon out, and what you can do is, if you've got 2 melee on you and you know that they've got the kicks, instead of casting, you can do a few jukes here and there. You know, if you get the kicks and you get the kicks, you can do a full cast Mind Blast. But what I do is I use my powered shield, I run, I Void Bolt, and then I wait for an instant Mind Blast, and this way I still do damage while melee are on me. And this is why I don't think melee are a big problem for me as a Shadow Priest in Arena, because I know how to do damage when melee are hitting me. Another thing you can do is if you fake cast and you juke them, then you can still do damage, you can still cast anything you want, which is extremely nice. But obviously if it's a kill opportunity and you've got melee on you and they're sitting about 20% HP and you get kicked and you're locked out for say 3 to 4 seconds, maybe 6 seconds, then it's going to be extremely hard for your teammate to kill that person alone. So sometimes it's better to just like press instant Mind Flare, instant Shadow Word Pain, and just wait for a proc. That's what I do. So if you're playing a Shadow Priest, definitely try this out, because like I said, I see a ton of priests playing Fortress of Mind and Shadow Word Void, and I honestly think these two talents are so far behind compared to Shadow Insight. Like Shadow Insight is just on another level. Like without Shadow Insight, I think Priest would be extremely difficult to play. So make sure to play this talent. Okay, that's number 1. On the second row, so this is an interesting row. You can either play selfish or you can help your team out. So you can play with Body and Soul. So basically whenever you powered shield, if you powered shield yourself, you get 5% movement speed for 3 seconds. You powered shield anybody else, they get the buff. It's really cool. You know, I love this talent. It's what I play with all the time because I like the movement speed you get from it. Sometimes in Arena it helps you get around a pillar to LOS someone, or it helps you get to the healer to get a fear. Like you powered shield yourself, you jump over to the enemy healer, you get a fear, and then you can just set up off that. That's what I like about Body and Soul. But I have to admit, Sand Lane is extremely strong. So what Sand Lane does, it reduces the cooldown of Vampiric Embrace by 45 seconds and increases its healing done by 25%. Now Vampiric Embrace is one of the Shadow Priest's main healing cooldowns. It heals for a fuck ton, especially if you line it up with your damage. So if you're ever going to be Vampiric Embracing, you want to line it up with like a Void Eruption. And if your team's like in the shit and your healer doesn't have any cooldowns, if you pop Vampiric Embrace, Void Eruption into Dark Ascension, your team should be Gucci. They should be 100% fine, because the healing from Vampiric Embrace on top of Sand Lane is just insane. And like I said, the good thing about playing with Sand Lane is it reduces the cooldown of Vampiric Embrace by 45 seconds, so you can actually use it more often in the enemy team's burst windows, depending on who they're going on. Obviously, if they're going on you and you're in a full kidney, you can't really do much about it, but then you can like pop it after the kidney to try and help your healer stable out the team, you know, because it's healing everybody. As long as you're doing damage, it is healing. And when you're expecting to Sand Lane, the tooltip says cause you to heal all nearby allies for 106% of any single target shadow damage you deal. So it heals for a fuck ton, and it's a 1.3 minute cooldown if you spec Sand Lane. But it's one of those, I'd spec Sand Lane in most 3v3 situations, but if you're going to be a selfish Shadow Priest like I am in most situations, I'm not going to lie, I'm a very selfish Shadow Priest. I do love my Body and Soul just for the movement speed increase. It really does help with getting away from melee, getting around pillars, getting those fears off and stuff like that. But I would 100% recommend playing Sand Lane in 3v3. But it's one of those, in Battlegrounds and that, probably take Body and Soul because it's more fun to play with. But I feel like Sand Lane is a must for 3v3 just because of how good the ability is. So yeah, if you're playing freeze, Sand Lane. If you're selfish like me, play Body and Soul. Tier 45 row. So we've got Twisted Fate, Misery, and Dark Void. Now I've actually been getting a lot of questions about Twisted Fate and Misery in my live stream. So a lot of people see me playing Twisted Fate and they're saying, why are you playing Twisted Fate if Misery is better? So basically what Misery does, it makes you a lazy Shadow Priest, which isn't a good thing. So Misery, I'll just read the tooltip really quick just in case you don't know what it is. Basically, Vampiric Touch also applies Shadow Word Pain to the target, so you're not having to use your globals dotting everyone with Shadow Word Pain. Especially in a BG where you've got like so many targets, what this does is it helps you, it basically increases your damage because you're not having to use all your globals dotting people with Shadow Word Pain. So you can keep dots up on more targets and you can actually press like more buttons like Void Eruption, Mind Blast, Blast, Dark Ascension, you can get your Mindbenders out, and all the targets that you've got dotted, they'll still be dotted because it's a lot easier to dot the targets when you're not having to press Shadow of Pain all the time on everybody. So if you're playing Battlegrounds, then yeah, I recommend playing Misery because it really does help Shadow Priest out. It makes them so much better in Battlegrounds. What I'd recommend you doing, if you've not tried Twist of Fate and you've probably played with one of these talents, but just go into a Battleground, play with Twist of Fate, try dot as many people as you can and try keep those dots on those people actively, and then go into another Battleground and then play with a Misery and then see how much easier it is to actually keep those dots up. Your damage will actually go up because you've got more dots out. It's easier to keep them up and you get to do other things. The good thing about Twist of Fate, I mean, you get 10% damage increase whenever anybody's below 35% HP, and it also increases healing for 8 seconds. But the good thing about Twist of Fate is it works on pets, it works on totems. You know how easy totems are to kill. It's like one shadow word pain and a totem's dead, and then you get a Twist of Fate proc. In arenas, 2v2, 3v3, anything like that, I always play Twist of Fate because we don't really need Misery, because in an arena, what we're doing most of the time is pressing Shadow Word Pain, you know, peeking in and outside of pillars, just pressing a cheeky Shadow Word Pain, getting our dots out that way. You know, if we're trying to run away, we don't really have anything to do, we can't really cast anything because we got melee on us, I'll just chuck Shadow Word Pains out. So there's no point really playing Misery just because we don't need it. So I'd play with Twist of Fate because then at least when a target gets below 35% HP, I get that little bit of damage increase and I get that little bit of healing increase. And like I said, if you're playing against pets or totems or anything, you just remember you can actually proc Twist of Fate off those. So if you see a shaman hit that totem with a Shadow Word Pain, you'll get a Twist of Fate proc and then you can do more damage. It's only 10% increase, but I mean, might as well take it because Dark Void's pretty dog shit and Misery, you really don't need it in 3v3 or 2v2. I only take Misery when I'm playing Battlegrounds or RBGs. So moving on to the tier 6 duo, we have Last Words, Mind Bomb and Psychic Horror. Now for this whole expansion, I pretty much just played Psychic Horror because it feels so good having it back. So if you don't know, we got Psychic Horror taken away from us back in, was it WOD when they removed it, or was it Legion? I can't remember specifically when they removed it. I think it was Legion. But this talent is so amazing because we get to keep our fear, we get a 4-second stun, that's an instant cast, and we get our silence on top of that. So our silence is a 45-second cooldown, our stun is a 45-second cooldown, and our fear is a 1-minute cooldown. And basically, depending on what comp you're playing with, I normally play Shatter or God comp, but this really helps me get polys with my mage when we're against like druids or anything. If I see the druid out of form, I'll go ahead and stun him out of form, then my mage can get an easy poly. It also helps with killing targets because mage doesn't have deep freeze anymore, so I can be the deep freeze basically. I can stun targets. It just makes Shadow Priest a lot better. You know, we have a lot more crowd control now. It makes setting things up a lot easier, makes triple CC a lot easier. Mind Bomb's still good and everything, but it replaces Psychic Scream. Mind Bomb's a 30-second cooldown. It's an AoE stun. It stuns everybody for 5 seconds in an 8-yard range, but you can dispel Mind Bomb. So if a healer dispels that target, it dispels Mind Bomb. That's the bad thing. And you lose fear, so you don't get fear. So playing with Psychic Horror, you get a stun, you get a fear, and you get a silence. There's also this cool talent called Last Words. This used to be a glyph. Basically, you get short silence, so it reduces the cooldown of silence by 15 seconds. Still, I don't think we I can't say, like, I've not played with this talent, but I remember it used to be good when it was a glyph. But having to choose between a short duration on silence against Psychic Horror, I'd probably take Psychic Horror over this all day long, just because it's an extra stun. It's an extra CC, you know, it's an extra CC. It's 4 second stun. It's a 45-second cooldown. It's absolutely fucking amazing. So 100% you want to be playing with Psychic Horror. It makes getting CC in arena a lot easier, and you can also play very defensive. So if you're on the back foot in a game and your healer's struggling to top you off, you can, like, say, you can get like a double fear, you can get a fear on one guy, you can stun one guy, and you can silence the other guy. That's what I do against RMP a lot of the times. One of my tactics against RMP is to try dampen them right now. So what we'd do is, like, we'd get CC on the healer. If we're dying, then we'd stun the rogue and we'd silence the mage, and we'd just repeat this until they get dampened or they have no mana, sorry. So yeah, Psychic Horror 100%. Level 75 tier. Like I said, I see people playing with Auspicious Spirits. I wouldn't recommend this talent because I have also tested this on training dummies. And playing with Auspicious Spirits, playing with Shadow of Death, playing with Shadow Crash, you do the same damage on all the training dummies. Now, I've tested this so many times. I did so many tests with the clock timer, and obviously in PvP it's going to be different and everything. But, like, we do the same amount of damage with all of these, but in PvP it's different. So Shadow Crash. Shadow Crash does no damage. Absolutely no damage. Don't even bother. It's a 20-second cooldown. It's a cool as fuck ability, but it does no damage. It literally says in the tooltip it does 5.4k. Whenever I've used it, the only damage it does is 5.4k. It never crits. If it crits, it doesn't do that much damage anyway. It does like a Mind Blast. It's like an extra Mind Blast, you know? It's not much damage. I'd 100% recommend playing with Shadow of Death in arenas, basically just because whenever you Shadow of Death someone, it generates 15 insanity, so it makes it easier to kill a target. And also Shadow of Death, it says in the tooltip it does 8k damage, but it does so much damage to Shadow of Death, and it crits often. Whenever I use Shadow of Death in arena, it's normally, I'd say 11k to 13k crit. And I've had it one time where it's crit for 20k. I have no idea why it crit for 20k. I think might be because I had like Azerite traits up or something, because I've got a lot of Azerite traits that give me crit. But it once crit for 20k, and I was fucking mad. I was buzzing. And the good thing about Shadow of Death is it's got 2 charges. Now I'm sure you've played without death on your bars, and it feels extremely weird when a target gets below 20% HP, because it feels like all you can do is like Mind Blast or Mind Flare or Void Bolt. When you've got Shadow of Death on your bars, you can Shadow of Death into Void Bolts, into Mind Blast procs, into more Void Bolts, into more Shadow of Deaths, and it's always building your insanity, because every time you death someone you gain 15 insanity, so you can keep your Void form up for longer, you can get more Void Bolts out, so on and so on. Auspicious Spirits really just doesn't, it says it increases your Shadow Apparition's damage by 100%, but it doesn't really do any fucking damage. It's so dog shit compared to Shadow of Death. It's unreal. It's like the set talents that are just on another level. Shadow Insight on another level. Psychic Horror on another level. Shadow of Death on another level. It's insane. So you want to take Death in pretty much every situation, unless they buff Shadow Crash, or unless Auspicious Spirit starts doing mad amounts of damage. But I doubt that'll happen. Moving on to the T90 era, we have Lingering Insanity, Mindbender, and Void Torrent. Okay, Void Torrent was an artifact ability trait, and I used it a lot, but it always felt pretty dog shit, and it's a 4-second channel, so you can easily get interrupted. It requires Void Form, it's a 45-second cooldown, so on and so on. I feel like I get more out of a 1-minute Mindbender than I do out of a 45-second Void Torrent, because Mindbender actually does so much damage. If you've got Scarred or Recount, anything like that, go ahead, just look at Mindbender's damage, and it's actually amazing. And it also generates 6 insanity each time it attacks. I think it does like 15 attacks. I'm not quite sure on that, but I think it does 15 or 12. It's one of those. But it is extremely strong, and it's 1-minute cooldown. So what I like to do is, especially when you're in an arena at the start of a game against a rogue or something, you know you're going to be getting CC'd. So what I like to do is I like to get, like, if I can, I'd get my Vampiric Touches out, but if I can't, I most likely can't. So what I'll do is I'll use Shadowed Pin on a few targets, get my Mindbender out, so then I've literally got a bit of damage out at the start of the game, and I'm also getting mana back. It just really helps you out at the start of games, and mid-game and end-game. You know, it's extra damage, and it's 1-minute cooldown. Lingering Insanity, when Void Form ends, its haste bonus fades by 1% every 2 seconds instead of ending immediately. I've also tested this, and I couldn't tell, like, it didn't feel like I was doing any more damage than when I was playing with Mindbender. So I take Mindbender because in an arena, you're getting CC'd and that, so it's better to have something out there doing damage or helping you with your burst and generating you insanity than it is to just sit there not doing anything. And the good thing about Mindbender, it hits through Cloak of Shadows against rogues, so that's always good. Okay, moving on to the level 100 tier. This is my favorite tier, I'd say. We get Dark Ascension. This is just a no-brainer to me because Dark Ascension is a really fun ability. It generates 50 insanity too. But I mean, it puts you in Void Form, so it just gives you 15 sanity. But it's cool as fuck. So what I like to do with Dark Ascension is I like to get a Void Eruption on my own, get 100 insanity, and then get my Mindbender out. I'll get my Siphene out. And when we're about to burst, I will basically Psychic Horror my kill target, pop Void Eruption, and then immediately I'll pop Dark Ascension. Now you might be thinking, oh, well, you're wasting 2 bursts right there because you've already popped Void Eruption, so you're already bursting. But the reason for doing this is Void Eruptions, the initial damage of Void Eruption does about 10 to 12 to 15k. So if I do that crit with Void Eruption at the start of the game, or the start of the burst, and then I pop an instant Void Eruption again, it's going to be about 25k damage instantly. 25 to 30k damage, I'd say. If it crits and everything, then you're just going to be doing mad amounts of damage. I blow people up like this. This is how I kill people. So I Void Eruption into Dark Ascension. My Mind Bender's out hitting that target. My Siphon's on him, so he's losing percentage base of his HP. And then after that, I just literally go to Pound Town. I Void Bolt, Mind Blast, Void Bolt, Mind Blast, Void Bolt, Mind Blast. Just stun everything. Everything that I've got, I throw at him. Surrender to Madness, you know, there's no point even talking about this. It's a 4-minute cooldown. Nobody's going to play it. It's a really bad spell. I don't even know why Blizzard still got it over here in the fucking talents, because it's just so useless in PvP. I couldn't imagine playing this. I mean, it says on the fucking tooltip, then you take damage equal to 90% of your maximum health. Like, hello? That is, it's dumb as fuck. The only other talent you've got is Legacy of the Void. So Void Eruption cast time is reduced by 40% and maybe cast anytime your insanity level is 60 or higher. To me, it's just Dark Ascension's that good. Like, it should be a no-brainer. Like, Legacy of the Void, scrap that. Surrender to Madness, scrap that. You're playing Dark Ascension. It's a 1-minute burst cooldown. That lines up with everything so well. Whenever you Void Eruption, you can Dark Ascension. You don't have Void Eruption, you can Dark Ascension, get into Void form. You can start bursting. Your Mage's burst, cool. I've got burst because I've got an extra Void form just sat there waiting for me. You want to do mad damage, all your trinkets and everything's procced up and everything's lining up, and you're so lucky you've got Void form ready. You Void form Dark Ascension, just go ham and people die. It's absolutely fucking amazing. I love this talent. The only thing I don't like is how they removed Power Infusion, but that's for another video. Okay, so we always rock Trinket, a Gladiator's Medallion. I always play this. I never really play Adaption and never really play Relentless. I always play Trinket. Okay, so if you're playing Battlegrounds, then I wouldn't recommend playing Void Shift unless you're going for like some crazy 1v2s or you're trying to do some insane plays, because it's a 5-minute cooldown. You don't really get much use out of it in Battlegrounds. But if you're doing arenas or anything like that, I would 100% recommend Void Shift. You know, it's a 5-minute cooldown. It's a lifesaver at the end of the day. It's life swap. It's 100% worth it. But if you're playing Battlegrounds or anything like that, probably take Psychic Link just for the increased damage. So what Psychic Link does, Mind Blast now deals 20% of its damage to all targets afflicted by Vampiric Touch. So if you've got Vampiric Touch on, say, 8 people, because you're playing with Misery, so you can get Vampiric Touch on 8 people very easy. Mind Blast is just going to do all its damage, well, 20% of its damage to everybody afflicted by Vampiric Touch. And then if you're getting procs from Shadow Insight too, then you're just going to be getting a ton of Mind Blasts on everybody, and you're going to be doing mad AoE damage. So 100%, you know, if you're playing those BGs, then Psychic Link is the way to go. Instant Void Eruption, you couldn't play Shadow Priest without this. Honestly, you just couldn't. So that's just a no-brainer. And Siphon, I always play with Siphon because it helps you with burst. It helps you to rock people down. It reduces their healing received by 50%, slows their movement speed by 50%, and it also does damage. Deals up to 1% of the target's total health in shadow damage every 0.9 seconds, and it lasts for 12 seconds. So it does like 12% damage or something. 12% of the HP. I don't fucking know, but it's absolutely just so good. Like, I couldn't see anything else that I'd want to play with. You've got Mind Trauma, but you've got to do full cast Mind Flayers to play with this. You've got Edge of Insanity. Oh, Edge of Insanity. This is one that a lot of people have been talking to me about. So people have been saying, oh, why do you play Edge of Insanity? Because you take 20% less damage. Now, this is a good thing. I haven't actually played this just yet because I've not really needed to. But my main talent setup, like I said, for 3v3 is Void Shift, Void Origins, and Siphon. I have Pure Shadow is good too. It makes Disperse extremely good. It reduces the damage taken by an additional 35%. So you can go ahead and experiment with this, but I'm not 100% sure like what's the best talent setup. It's always going to be changing, like Void Shift, Void Origins, Siphon, everything's going to be changing. So it's either going to be changing between Pure Shadow and Void Shift, or like Psychic Link. And it's going to be changing between Edge of Insanity, because Edge of Insanity is pretty decent. But I've not actually tested this. So some people were saying to me, why don't you play Edge of Insanity? Because then you take 20% less damage. But what I'm saying is, like, if you're not in Void form, you're not really doing damage, and you're just going to be sat there. But I mean, I can see how this talent's going to be good, because I mean, you've got your dots out on people, and maybe you want to just try the enemy. I mean, that could be a tactic. You know, you're taking 20% less damage all the time. So Edge of Insanity is pretty decent. Just you're gonna have to try these out. This is what I like about BFA with the PvP talents. There's so many PvP talents that you can play with. Well, there's not so many, but there's loads of different choices, and there's different setups and different scenarios where you want to take this talent, this talent, this talent. So definitely go ahead and experiment with Pure Shadow, Edge of Insanity, Psychic Link, Void Shift, Void Origins, and Siphon. Try find the best thing for you. But like I said, I swap these talents out all the time in Arena. all the time. Sometimes I play pure Shadow, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I play Void Shift. You might want to swap Scything out, but then it'd feel extremely weird. But you might not need Scything that game. Instead of Scything, you might take Edge of Insanity. But yeah, guys, this was probably an extremely long video, so I'm gonna end it there. Hope you enjoyed, hope it helped. That was basically my full rundown on talents and how to use them. So if it got a little bit confusing, if it did, go ahead and comment down below, and we'll try clear a few things up. But these, in my opinion, are the best talents for a Shadow Priest. I'm just pointing this out there. I am not no rank 1 Shadow Priest. I'm just the average player that plays WoW on a night. I play 3s, I play 2s, I play Arena, I play BGs. I'm just your average 2.4k pleb that plays this game, okay? I'm no rank 1. I try not to go too far into statistics and numbers and everything. So this is just me giving my opinion on what I think are the best talents for a Shadow Priest in BFA at the moment. Like I said, hope this video helped you. If it did, comment below, subscribe to the channel, hit the like button if you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.